what time it is. Marvin Devine, Huber, Axel, and you know how we do. Yeah, I got the juice. Whip game cool, make them look like cool. Always play cool, that's the biggest rule. Forget what they doing, keep on doing. I've been making loot since like 22. Ask me how I made it right here in the booth. I'm always pursued cause of what I pursue. That's greatness, yeah, I gotta make it, I got things to lose. Boy, wanna get in my crew, but you can't get in my crew. Me, Axel, and Huber way too fireable. When this joint drop, better call the troops. And when you hear the drop, better raise the roof. Better raise the roof. You already know what happens when we link up. Let's go. Yeah.
All these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cold, these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cold, these brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep waves by my side, CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.
Welcome, you guys. How are you doing out there in Facebook and YouTube land? I am April McGraw, and you are here for our very first show, Thriving with April. I am so glad to have you guys here tonight with us. So you guys probably wondering, who is April and why is she having the show calling it Thriving with April? Well, I am a dialysis nurse of over 19 years, and I also have kidney disease and lupus. So the premise of this show is for us to connect with other people with chronic illnesses. So hypercardiovascular disease, diabetes, kidney disease, and a whole host of other things. So it's not totally dedicated to kidney disease, but I'm still very much an advocate for kidney disease. And so we will have a lot of those shows. This show will come on every other Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So lock it in and you'll be aware early on to know who our guest is. So just a little bit about me. I told you I'm a nurse. I am married. I have 2 bonus kids and 3 very beautiful grandkids that are just my life, a loving and supportive family. And I could not have made it as far as I have without them. So as a dialysis nurse, I have been in the field for 19 years. I've been an in-center dialysis nurse. I have been a home dialysis program manager, and I have ran several clinics at one time. So I'm well versed in that, and I've been on dialysis since the age of 15 after being diagnosed with lupus at the age of 13. So I'm excited to get us going. Our first guest tonight is Malira Green. She is a licensed clinical social worker. I met Malira working in my career at one of the Fortune 500 dialysis companies here locally in Virginia. Yay. And she is awesome, beautiful inside and out, and an all around great person and social worker. So without any further ado, let's bring on Malira. Oh, shoot.
I'm back there dancing, yes.
Me too. Hey, Malira, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing wonderful, so wonderful.
Oh, it is so good to see you, and thank you for coming on tonight and being our very first guest on Thriving with April. Woo!
Yes. I am so proud of you and honored to be here tonight.
Oh, well, thank you. So, Malira, we're going to get right into it. Can you talk to us about what made you decide to go into the social work lane?
Absolutely. So growing up, I was not your typical girl that people would think had a mental health issue. I came from a 2-parent household. We were kind of middle class, so not too much to the higher end, but not at the lower end either. And I was well versed in church. I went to school, got good grades, but I was struggling with my own demons. And I dealt with major depression and anxiety, but nobody believed me because, again, my story didn't look like I should be struggling. And when I turned 17 years old, I saw myself about to start college, and that's when my life almost took a dark end. I literally did not want to live anymore, and my dad saved me. And in that moment, I said, you know what? I want for other people to know that they are enough, regardless of what their story is, their trauma is, regardless of what their background is. I wanted to be the person to see people in their environment and give them a voice. And then I ended up becoming a social worker. And that is literally where I have found myself. I have found myself serving people where they are, getting able to kind of see like what their full environment is and what they're doing. And I am so grateful to be able to show up for people in the way that they need me to. So I've done social work in various places. I've done dialysis, as you know. I worked in the correctional field. I've also done anything when it came with adoption. I am an outpatient therapist now. So anything dealing with people, that is where I find myself. And I literally dedicate myself to transform people's lives.
Oh, wow. What a wonderful story. I knew some of your story, but I didn't know all of it. Wow. Yes. Okay. So we're going to talk about, well, I'm going to let you explain what we're going to talk about, but why I asked you on, Malira, was because this is a show for chronic illness. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so we already know that people with chronic illness, sometimes we have, well, a lot of times we have a lot of emotional ups and downs. Okay. And some of us are more severe than others. And so I brought you on tonight so that you can talk to us about ways that people with chronic illness, really anyone, but specifically people with chronic illness, how can we keep those emotions and mental aspects at bay?
So I would say it's understanding that your life is greater than that chronic illness. And I'm not just saying that as someone that don't know what I'm talking about. I actually was diagnosed with primary cirrhosis going on with my liver. And I had no idea. I found out on my birthday last year. So I have an autoimmune disease that nobody know where it came from, nothing like that. And in that moment, I realized that my life was greater than just that diagnosis. So what I ended up creating is what I call the 6 dimensions of life. So when it comes to our mental health, what you see, the reality that you see has nothing to do with what's truly happening. It has all to do with the thoughts that you have in your mind. And once I realized that, I said, you know what, Malara, I need to kind of take a step back and see how can I get people to see beyond just this one area of their life. So the 6 dimensions of life that we have is your spiritual wellness, your mental wellness, your emotional wellness, your physical wellness, social wellness, and then I add the cash flow piece. That is whatever you do to provide the finances to live the life that you have. Mind you, I broke it down into 6 dimensions. And in order for you to actually be able to overcome and not be stagnant with what you deal with health-wise, is also giving energy to all the other dimensions in life. And when I used to work with dialysis patients, the one thing I used to hear is, well, Malara, you don't know what we deal with. We have to come in center for 4 hours, for 3 to 4 times a week for some of them. And they was like, you don't know how that feels. I said, okay, well, that's 4 hours out of the 24 hours you get. What are we going to do with the time that you actually have? And I began to say, okay, I have to get you to see beyond just the physical wellness. I got to get you to see that there's a spirit on the inside of you that grows bigger. There's a purpose that is still inside of you, regardless of what your health is. And then when I talk about mental, you got to know what you think about. You got to know what you believe about yourself. And that's why you can sit up here and have this show and being diagnosed with lupus at 13 years old and now being a dialysis nurse for 19 years because you knew your purpose was bigger. Your spiritual dimension kept you going. And then now mentally, you know, okay, look, I'm powerful. I'm enough. So now emotionally, you feel like a powerhouse. You can keep going. So then physically now in your body, even the days where you don't feel like keep pressing on, you got something greater than you pushing you forward. And as I'm pushing forward, now socially, I get to surround myself with people like April to say, look, Malara, don't keep going. Don't keep not going. Keep pushing forward. And then my cash flow piece, I realized that what I'm passionate about, I can create cash flow too. Now, one thing that I kind of see is it is hard sometimes to see past the physical. It is very hard sometimes to see past the physical. And what I tell people is if you understand that you can give your best at that moment, that's all you got to do. So in that moment where you don't feel like pushing forward, it's okay to say, I'm going to sit down and rest for this day, but just don't stay there. And that's where the other 6 dimensions come in at. It pushes you forward.
Wow, amazing, amazing. So how does someone with a chronic illness, how do they seek out those type of services? Where do they start?
So it really depends on what program you are a part of. So for example, my expertise when it comes to the medical field will be dialysis. So I can use that as an example. In the actual dialysis clinic, you have your dialysis social worker that is not just there to say good morning to you, but they're actually there to provide you with resources. They want to see, do you have what you need to actually utilize your dietary restrictions to your benefit? What is really going on with you? If you feel like you're struggling, if you feel like you're losing interest, if you feel like you're drowning, you have that person in center to help. Now, if you are someone that don't want people to know what's going on with you in center, you do also have resources on the outside like outpatient therapists. We have local community services board. So one thing that I noticed for people who have chronic illness, they struggle sometimes being able to afford like insurance or supplemental things, so then they don't want to reach out. But there are community services boards that if you don't have insurance, they cannot turn you away, at least in our local area here in Hampton Roads. And then at the same time is being able to link with like an insurance counselor, because there are times where you might not be able to be approved for Medicaid and Medicare. The biggest thing I want to tell you is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't drown by yourself. And there are people out here like myself and like April that are like, hey, tell us what you need so that we can walk you through and point you in the right direction. So whether that is working with your social worker in your dialysis clinic, or social work at the hospital, or working out with whoever you have in your corner. There's also nurses that serve as case managers. Use your resources. Don't be ashamed of your situation. Your illness do not change who you are as a person.
Right.
You deserve for someone to show up for you, but you have to know that you are enough for someone to show up for you and say, hey, I need help. I need help. Can someone show up for me?
Right. And that brings me to another question. So about asking for help, mental health is so stigmatized today. So how does someone get past that to be able to ask for help? You know, they may not have the proper support system. They may not have, anyone in their life personally in their personal space that can help and direct. And they may or may not, they may not be on dialysis. It could be, someone that's walking around here with diabetes and hypertension, and it has just thrown their whole life into a tailspin. How do we get those people to get help, to go and seek help?
I would say to that person, you have to understand that it's stigmatized across the board, whether it is your mental health or your physical health. People fear what they don't understand. So the actual journey is not to get for other people to understand your journey. It is you committing to yourself that I'm going to at least take that first step, and then your support will come. And not being afraid of the label. I tell people all the time, the label is what we're fearful of, but the label is what helps you get the treatment that you need. Mm-hmm. So if you are dealing with depression, put a word to it. You might not know exactly what you're feeling, but be able to say, look, I don't even feel like getting up out of bed. Like, I don't even know what's going on with me right now. Even sometimes saying, I don't know, is the best way to start your journey. Listen, I tell my clients all the time, I am not a therapist because I went to school and learned all this book work and that was it. I am coming to you as someone who needed a therapist at one point in time because she was about to end her life. And if I was fearful of what everybody else was saying behind me, I wouldn't have what I have now, because I realized transparency and integrity is what was going to heal me. My journey wasn't for nobody else. Right. It was for me. So when you know that you are enough, then you can go past that fear. And if you can't get past that fear, go to MylyraTransform.com and I will be the person to be on that phone call with you when you're calling that therapist. I will be that person to be on the phone call with you when you call that case manager. Why? Because I know it's scary, but I've walked this journey and I'm willing to walk it with you. So sometimes it just takes being able to say, I'm afraid, and finding someone that's not afraid to be afraid with you.
Right. So you talked about the 6 dimensions. So I have a question about balance. So if all 6 of those dimensions are not intact, then we're going to be off balance, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I'm going to show you an example. So we on the show today, and I'm trying to figure out how I can show this to you and see if you can see me or not, all right? Okay. So if you put your hands out in front of you, they should be the same exact length, right?
Yes.
So if they're the same exact length, and y'all bear with me, I know y'all watching, but y'all can do this with me, right? If you put your right hand up in the air, and I'm going to walk you through this fast. You can go back to it. Yep, all the way up. And what we're going to do is push it forward 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. When you put it out in front of you, the one you just worked on is going to be longer than the other. And what tends to happen in life is we put our nails, our teeth in just one area and we focus on that and everything else falls apart.
Right.
And we wonder why we're stuck. We wonder why the other things aren't working out. We wonder why our relationships are falling apart. We wonder why spiritually we can't get grounded. We wonder why emotionally and mentally we feel like we're on the brink of breaking down. It's because we just chose one dimension to focus on.
Yes, absolutely. And so when you have a chronic illness, we won't even use chronic illness. We'll use if you're going through a financial crisis right now. So if you're taking all your energy and focusing right there on that, then you cannot focus and put any energy on the other 5 dimensions, is what you're saying.
Not at all, because whatever you focus on, that's what's going to come to pass. That's, for example, if you say, I want a red Honda Accord, 9 out of 10, what's going to end up happening is you're going to go outside and see a bunch of red Honda Accords because that is what your mind is focused on. And that is what happens in life. We focus on this one thing that everything else seems like we can't even do anything with, and then we become overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Got it. That makes so much sense. And I can even understand that in my own life, how that can happen. Because, you just get focused. It's if you have any kind of health crisis going on, everything is about what's going on with you health-wise. You can't really focus on what's going on with your husband, your kids. Cleaning your house becomes overwhelming. So I can definitely appreciate that. I just want to peep over here and see, did we have any questions from our viewers tonight? I see a lot of good comments, Malira. So how would you end with us? What would you leave us with?
The thing that I will leave you with is your life is not over until it's over. Amen. And sometimes we focus so much on it just being over that one thing I've read, matter of fact, they said most people die at age 30. They just don't get buried until they're 70. So what I will say is don't be that person that is walking around dead because you have a diagnosis. Be the person that is willing to see that they are enough to just give their best. So if that best is just a crawl, queen and king, I commend you. If that best is just waking up and opening up your eyes, I commend you. If your best is just going to that doctor's appointment and going back home and putting that cover on top of your head, I commend you. And we have to be okay with giving our best and not giving up. And if sometimes you don't feel like you have enough in you to keep pushing and going, pull on your supports. And if you feel like you don't have a support, you just got one for life. Malira Green is now your support system. And people who know me know I'm not lying.
Absolutely.
People who know me know that you have me for life. Why? Because I want you to see that your life is worth living. There is too many people out here that have chronic illnesses that take their lives because they're silently dealing with it by themselves. They feel like no one understands. They're like, I am trying everything I hear you say, Malira, that sounds good. I've tried that. Where do I go from here? And I just say, if I could just help you go one more day, if I could just be that space, that's all I want to do. And if I can do that, I have done my job and know that I am not far away from you. I have to push just like everybody else. But the one thing I realize is I have what I need inside of me to keep going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that you said that's, you're not alone. But we have so many people out here that feel alone. Just this last year and a half has compounded everything, dealing with COVID, illnesses, deaths in a lot of families, and then all of the isolation. So then when you take the isolation and put it on top of a chronic illness or some other crisis that's going on in your life, it can just seem overwhelming for people. And you do, you see it every day, sometimes you just can't handle it. So when it comes to building support system, we have to think outside the box and know that our support system may not always be our blood families. It may be our church family. It may be the cashier down at the Food Lion. It may be a support group, but you have to put yourself out there in order to help and receive that. So I just have enjoyed this conversation with you, Malira. I think for me, myself, I've gotten a lot of value from it. And I hope that I'm pretty sure that our viewers have gotten a lot of value from it as well. You guys, please, please, please visit www.maliratransforms.com. She is there if you need anyone to talk to. Now, do you also have a Facebook group here?
So I do not have a Facebook group.
Okay.
But I can say if you send me a friend request, I try to accept people friend requests. But the easiest way to get to me, if you do go to maliratransforms.com and put in a contact and just say, hey, you saw me on this show, then I would be honored to just walk with you through it. I really try to use a hands-on approach, because sometimes when people see that I'm a licensed clinical social worker, or they hear that she's a therapist, or they feel like I'm untouchable. No, I want you to be able to touch me. I want you to be able to talk with me. So that's kind of how you can get in contact with me, is just directly and say, hey, this is where I met you from. And I'll say, hey, how you doing? And we'll start from there. And whatever I can give to you, I will give to you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll reach out to people that are in my support group to find the answer for you. Awesome.
So I just really enjoyed this. I really have. I am rooting for each and every one of you guys, everyone that is watching tonight, who are watching in the replay, who's out there and they're just feeling alone. Know that you're not alone. You do have people and resources. We just got to figure out how to find them for you. Okay. I myself have a Facebook group called Women Thriving with Kidney Disease. And it's for any stage of kidney disease, whether you're newly diagnosed, stage 3, stage 4, on dialysis, have a transplant, you're all welcome. And I really appreciate you guys here tonight. Don't go at it alone. Okay. Malira, thank you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking time out from your family and being here tonight. Thank you to my viewers. Again, this was our first show. We're going to do this every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. No, not every Tuesday night. Every other Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And if you have any show suggestions or other guests that you would like to see, please drop me a line. My Facebook page is April McGraw. You can find me at April McGraw. April McGraw at aprilmcgraw.com is my email address. And you can drop me a line there. And if I can't get that specific guest, I can at least try to get someone in that space. So again, thank you guys for being here, and we'll talk to you soon. Until next time, I'm rooting for you. Bye.
This is what we know. Here we come back to life, still breathing, standing up, everybody's gonna see it. All you need to know is that we're holding on. Even if we fall, we will rise up, and we follow the path that we believe in. No, we're not gonna stop until we reach it. All you need to know is that we're holding on. We rise up.
boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Cody's brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta roll with ice. Ride or die, 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 ride or die. Cody's brothers, my guys, know that they fly, know that they ride or die. I keep boys by my side. CJ Ike, now I gotta ride or die.